Good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my Stradivarius 184G Cornet. I bought this thing about 2 months ago. It's used. Paid around $1,200 for it, including shipping. Um, in this video, I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to really try to give you an information so you can decide if you want to buy one or not. I would have to say this is the best horn I've ever purchased. I bought many number of cornets. I have a whole shelf full of them over there. I'd say in the last 3 years I've bought and sold or given away probably about 15 cornets or so. I still have a few, to say the least. I only have one Stradivarius. Back in the, about 3 years ago when I started playing again after a layoff of 50 years, I had a Stradivarius trumpet and I had an Eterna trumpet. Just didn't like trumpets. As I said, I just bought this a couple months ago. I've played mostly vintage cornets. I like the Cons, the early 1900s. Probably the best Con is the 38, 36A. Concert Grand. It's a very good horn. I have a committee. I have a couple King Masters, and all those are very excellent horns, but they're not as good as this one, believe me. They might on occasion sound as well, but they're not as easy to play. Now if you are just a student or you're not even as good as I am, and again my history is I played for 10 years. I was pretty good back in the day. I dropped it for about 50 years and now I'm back with it. So I'm certainly not a professional and I'm not a superb player, but I'm decent. I can definitely play better and easier on this horn. If you're not, say, even up to my level, it won't make much of a difference. But the subtleties of this horn are really good. But then again, if it's easier to play for me, it should be easier to play for you. Is it worth the money? Well, new they're about $3,200. You can get any other, good cornets for, half that or even less. As I said, I paid $1,200 for this. It's a true bargain. It's in excellent shape. It does have some dings on it, some scratches, etc., but otherwise it's in very good condition. It's almost the equivalent of a new horn. It's it's a 1985 model. The model is the whole model number is Stradivarius 184G. The 184 is because it has the shepherd's crook. In all my experiences, I found that horns with shepherd's crooks play easier, they play sweeter, they play darker, they're a nicer horn. So, in my mind, I won't buy anything else except something with a shepherd's crook. I was really considering buying a Yamaha Neo versus this one. It just turned out I decided I'd go with this one first and then take it from there. The likelihood of me ever buying a Neo is, the Yamaha Neo is very remote. It's not almost possible in my mind for a horn to be any nicer and better than this. The G stands for the gold in the bell area. It's not real gold, but it has a higher percentage of brass. The instrument itself, and all instruments are made out of brass, which consists of copper and zinc. The level of amount of zinc and copper determines the quality in terms of sound, etc. The G, it's as I said, it's a gold brass, but more than that, the percentage of copper in the brass is 85%. Supposedly, it gives it a milder, sweeter sound. I'm told, and the information that I read says that it's an amateur or somebody that's not very good may not be able to feel or hear the subtleties. Whether I can hear or feel the subtleties is, I don't really know. I just know it plays nice. could be that I don't need the G. It might play just as nice for me. In terms of how it's made, I took a couple of the slides off just ahead of time. Took the main tuning slide off for you, and I took the end of the third valve slide off, just to give you an idea. Well, one of the things, I guess, before I go any further, it does have the trigger on the first finger, which is nice. First valve. It's generally not needed. The thing is very good in tune. You start needing it at A sharp and above. The lower notes, not necessary. As far as the usability of the third finger to flip it on the fly, it's not very useful. At least it's not for me. It does have screws. It does have nuts to put in here that will limit its travel. But again, it's not necessary even when the horn is cold. I could put the slide back on again, but I won't bother. One thing I noticed, mine must have been banged at one time, because to get the slide back on here, you really need to. It really touches and pushes the side of the bell. So I put a piece of tape on there so it wouldn't scratch it. As far as the valves are Monel. I know a lady that back in the day, she was in my class. She worked part-time at a music store, and she sold trumpets, cornets, whatever. And her big push was the fact that the Stradivarius, both in trumpet and cornet, has Monel valves. They're harder. They may have some other advantages. Supposedly they don't wear nearly as well or as much. To me, it's kind of irrelevant, because if this part doesn't wear, then the bore of the horn will wear. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But they do have Monel valves. The valves are very good. They're not superior, but they're very, very good. I have no problem with them. Some other features of the horn does have a couple spit valves. It has a spit valve here, and it has, as you continue to go around, it has another spit valve before it enters the third valve. It does not have a spit valve, water key, on the third valve. I wish it did, but it doesn't. But as you folks that play know, there's not a whole lot of liquid buildup in there. What I do, though, is at the end of my playing session, I will put the third slide, put the third finger down, pull the second slide, and then just kind of tip it up there and blow through and get some spit out of that. So that's what I do. I do that every time I play. It's neither here nor there, but at the end of the session, I always take a swab. Since I do a lot of shooting, I have a gun cleaner there with a rag that I go through the horn, through the lead pipe. I clean it, and then I have another one right here. This actually came with one of my early con horns. And I put a little rag on that, the gun cleaner pad, and I use that here and here. Just do everything I can do to keep the horn clean. So that's about it. I have some other videos. As far as the mouthpiece goes, since it's a Bach, you can obviously use a Bach mouthpiece. I choose to use the Yamaha, and the mouthpiece I use is a 11C4. It's pretty much equivalent to maybe a 7 to 8 Bach. It just works real well for me. So that's probably about it. I can't think of anything else. The only other thing, this is an ML, which means medium large bore. They do have it in a small bore, I believe, also. This thing plays very dark, very sweet. So if you are concerned that an ML bore is too big and it won't play as dark or as sweet, you can put that out of your. It's that's not true. It plays very nice with just the way it is. So I would highly recommend it. Is it worth the money? To my mind, it is. If you're able to buy it, if you're reasonably serious about playing a horn, and you want to continue, then it's definitely worth it, because with a regular student horn, you can only get so good with a student horn, but with this, you can go as far as you want. So again, great horn. I do encourage you to look at it, play one, and it's a good horn. I have some other videos, and I did play this on a couple of videos on my. If you just search YouTube for 101A, sorry, let me do that again, 101 PSU1, so that's 101 PSU1, and you'll find my other videos there. So again, enjoy.